Hi, I'm Jennifer Sir. Welcome to the Sewing Room and our Jobs in Fashion series. Today, we are speaking with designer Sherri Hrycay about her job as milliner. Sherri works full-time making hats for her company and store, Sova Designs. She's based out of Canada and has a much different clientele and experience than our previous milliner interviewee, Lisa Jones, who designs in the UK. And I'm really excited to talk to her about what her job is as a milliner and what that looks like and how different it is compared to Lisa's experience. Because, geographically, there's all sorts of reasons why people wear hats, not only just for fashion, but also for practical uses as well. So it stands to reason that there would be different kinds of needs in different parts of the world. So without further ado, let's get to our conversation with Sherri.
Thank you. This is really, really exciting. I've never before. Well, I mean, I've done interviews, but never something like this. So this is cool.
Cool. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got started with Sova Design?
Oh, does this have to be a short answer or a long answer? Because I could go
Either
on
way.
for. Okay. All right. Well, I used to be one of those kids that would draw fashions, and I still have my little portfolio from when I was 8. And I didn't even know that design was like a job. Like it didn't occur to me. I just, like to do it and whatever. But coming from immigrant parents, I went to university, and you either become a doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher. And I decided teacher because it was the quickest. And I kind of like kids, and so I did that. But my heart always belonged in design. And so when I moved to Calgary with my husband, I was teaching during the day and I was taking some design classes at night, and just got hooked. And so when my first baby was born, I went home. I became a stay-at-home mom, and that's when the design really happened. So I was doing like, clothing, that sort of thing, just little bits here and there. And then just out of the blue, one day I started making hats. And that's an actually a really interesting story because like it was literally, I've always loved hats. I collected pictures, and I had been to Australia and I bought a couple in the markets, and it blew my mind that people make these, at home, and how does that happen? And so I started collecting hats, and checking out how they were made on the inside and everything like that. And I'd copy the techniques. And so a lot of my stuff that I do is kind of, old school and sort of retro, vintage inspired, that sort of thing. And it kind of grew from there, where I'd started doing like little craft shows and then big shows. And then I started doing, fashion weeks up here in Canada. And then suddenly I had a pop-up store, which turned into a store and online, and it just kind of grew from there. So I've been doing this probably for about 25 years. And I'm in Canada in the middle of the prairies. And it's just like, where did this come from? Like what got you to do this? Because let me tell you, people here, especially 25 years ago, there wasn't, and I mean, as you know, I'm not really great with computers. There wasn't the internet. Like I didn't go and do a YouTube tutorial on how to do this. It just was really instinctual, and my sewing background really helped. But I'm going to switch stories now. My dad was a war baby, and he was born in a displaced persons camp just after World War II, to my baba, which is Ukrainian for grandmother, and a French soldier. Now, both of them probably conversed in German because he was French and she was Ukrainian, and she didn't speak French. So anyhow, she loved him, adored him till the day she died, but she did not put him on the birth certificate. And she was sponsored to come over to Canada. He went on with his regiment, and they were never married. So with her thick, heavy Ukrainian accent, every time she tried to say his name, it was different. And if you know anything about the French language, there's a lot of silent E's and R's and U's, and so we never knew what his name was. We knew his nickname was Lulu, and we had a photograph. So we've been looking for him. My dad's been looking for his father his whole life. My dad is 78. And so in 2010, my husband and we went over to France, and I did a hat master class there. And we thought, while we're there, let's go to Paris and let's check out the military archives, because we knew where he was stationed. We could probably figure out his regiment. Maybe there was a list with his name on there, and we could find out who this person is, but we didn't have luck. So we did the Red Cross and a private detective and DNA, and nothing worked. And I got a genealogist in Paris in 2017, and she said, this is not like, I mean, this would be a miracle if we could find who this person was. And so her and I've been working for years and years trying to find my grandfather. And about 4 years ago, she contacted me and she said, "Did your dad ever do DNA?" And I said, "Yes, he did ancestry.ca." And she said, "Well, we only use heritage.com here in France, and not a lot of people do it. The French are really private. But if you give me the password, I'll link them up and see what happens." Well, within 2 weeks, she found out my dad has 3 half brothers and niece. I have a whole bunch of first cousins living there. My grandfather had died in 2000. But before the war, he was a hat maker.
Wow.
And he worked for the famous company Mossant. They produced like 2,000 hats a day for Europe and for the United States and Canada. They went out of business after the war, but an American company has bought the name, and they've restarted in Los Angeles. So now it's they've been in contact with me, and it's kind of neat to have sort of a link. And really strange that out of the blue, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Canada, I start making hats the month he died, apparently. And
wow.
yeah, and I've been doing that ever since. So that's my story on how I became a milliner.
That's a fantastic story. Wow, that's so spiritual, actually.
Yeah, it really is something. And so I actually got his nickname tattooed on my arm, because that's all we ever had of him, was the nickname and a photo. So with
Oh,
that, we were able to find him.
that's a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Welcome.
Um, I hate to jump into like really practical,
Right, quite all right.
but does Sova Design support you? Do you have any other streams of income?
Um, well, I'm married, and so my husband, he's he does he does a lot for me. Funny enough, well, yes, this is what I do for a living. It was a long. I had to introduce the idea of hats back into this society, and there are a lot of hat wearers. The problem is, in my mind, is that up until the 80s, a lot of industry and making and everything was done here in North America. And when they started doing offshore overseas, it was quicker and fast fashion sort of thing. So, the hats you'd get here would be one size, one color, one style. I mean, if we were given that option with shoes, we'd be all walking barefoot, right? And
Right.
so I think that was sort of the downfall of it. So reintroducing it was interesting, because now that I do it, the people travel, to come and see me, because there's not a lot of us around, and they know they could get a hat to fit them.
Hmm.
And uh, and because of that, I have a good reputation. I started a clothing line based on my French family, and so now I have a store, like a brick and mortar, and online, and customs and shows and markets, and I do it all
Wow.
24/7. My kids are funny, because when we were small, or when they were small, and we'd go on a vacation somewhere, I'd say, "Mom, can we ever go on a vacation that's not a write-off?"
That's funny. My daughter's like, "You're coming to visit me and we're going to talk about work. So let's make it a write off." So she's the opposite.
Oh, my poor kids, sitting in a car in a parking lot with their dad while I'm going through fabric stores is sort of,
Yeah.
what they're
Yeah.
used to.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
I
make a
was
living.
I was going to ask if you had investors to start your business, but having, a second stream of income with a family member is probably some sort of investment in and of itself.
It is. It was very organic where, you make one hat and you save some to buy more material and you just keep doing that. You know what I mean? So it's been a slow growth for me. If I had the nerve and the courage when I was younger, I was really encouraged by my home ec teacher to go into design. And, if I knew then what I knew now, I would have gone to, a big Parsons or something, and then, be set up for an internship, and my life would have taken a whole different turn. This has been harder, longer, but more rewarding because I've been able to have my family and focus on my art, and the kids just, they're so proud to have an artist for a mom. And they know that when it's time to give a gift, they go straight to Etsy and they look for that another maker has made, and art and is a really big part of our family.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's really lovely to know. Um, so tell me a little bit about what you offer. You said you have a brick and mortar, and I'm assuming you also do custom work. Do you do custom hats for people?
Absolutely. And I also, sell online as well. Although it's difficult to sell a hat online. People like to wear it and try it on, that sort of thing. But at least I've sold a lot of things, over Zoom calls or just a messenger chat, that sort of thing. But yes, I do bespoke. A lot of my hats are, I kind of get into a rut, and you start making stuff that is going to sell,
Hmm.
and that over and over again, because that's what brings in the bread and butter. But once in a while someone will come in and say, I'm going to the Kentucky Derby, can you do? Yes, I can you know be a little bit more wild than I normally am.
Um, so do people mostly come to you? Do you work remotely or do they do both? It sounds like people come to you for specific things. It's kind of hard to do it remote, but
Well, in Canada, it's funny. One of my cousins came over from France last month. He was the first one to make the journey over, and he was amazed at how much space we have here, right? So
yeah.
I took him to Calgary, and it's like, it's a little 6 hour drive, right? Like that's what we do. If you do 6 hours in France, you're probably in Hungary, right?
Right.
And so it's people don't mind jumping in the car and driving 2.5, 3 hours to see me, and get stuff done that way.
Because
Like I
they're
said, there's
used to it.
not a lot of us around, so um, we I do what I can, right?
Yeah.
Me, I travel, even when we have different uh, um, craft shows in other cities, I'll meet people there. I do whatever I can to help out, that sort of thing.
That's great. Um, Besides the master class that you did in France, what other kind of training have you had to make hats?
Well, okay, so for me, it's genetic. Grandfather, but no, seriously, the sewing and the research and the deconstructing is what got me into it. But I'm very, very good about constantly taking master classes. I'm over to Europe once a year, and I always, if I'm not material shopping, I'm, doing some sort of course or a master class or something like that, because um, I didn't have the formal training in a college or something. Like apparently you can do that sort of thing in Britain or Australia, but really not in Canada. And so the teachers that I've worked with are very impressive. For instance, I was just in France last May, and I learned how to do the straw braid machine. I mean, I've had one for 15 years and I fiddled around with it, but I wasn't really proficient. And so I went to France and I studied under Pierre Triste, which he's the one of the most amazing designers. And his personal company, was the first company that Hermes contracted to do their hats.
Oh, wow.
So so I'm learning from the absolute best when I go over there. It's not, some little, person that probably knows as much as I do. I really try to, I worked with Rose Corey, and she was the milliner to the late Queen Mother.
Wow.
So So
That's fantastic. That's
good.
such a great opportunity. I would love to do something like that.
Oh, I know. And I'm old school, so I really make a point of meeting people. So I will travel to all ends of the earth to meet my suppliers or my teachers, that sort of thing. I really like the old fashioned way of doing stuff.
What's your favorite medium to work in?
Well, honestly, okay, right now I'm obsessed with the straw braid. The stuff that I can do, like the sculptural things, and it's just it blows my mind. Like I'm practicing. The straw braid is really nice. I love it. There's other braids that I'm a little bit don't think it's me so much as my machine. I took the course in French, and my French is un peu. And um, uh, there's some fiddlings with the machine that is not working for some other trims, but yeah, I'm obsessed with the straw braid. But here in Canada, actually, I get away with a lot of felt. Like that's what I'm really comfortable in, because you can wear a felt hat here probably for 7 to 8 months. You
Yeah.
know, yeah. So felt is really my big seller.
Yeah, I just spoke with a milliner in Scotland, and she was telling me she really liked the cinema. That was her favorite thing to work with, because she does a lot of hats for special occasions, like because in Great Britain, all the mothers of the bride and half of the people in the parish wear a fancy hat to a wedding. So it's very cultural and different. So I'm really fascinated with how people wear hats all over the world because it's very different from place to
It,
place.
it is, and I know that when I went and studied with Rose Corey, that's what I worked on, was this, like I can't even fit it in the screen how big this because yeah, cinema is a big deal in England. And then you look at Australia, and they have a lot of, oh, they're on fire there. The stuff that's coming out of Australia is amazing, because it's for the races, it's flamboyant, it's whatever. I again, like I said, I don't have that opportunity here. My hats are more practical.
Mhm.
Um, and so obviously I don't get to work with the cinema as much as I'd like to, or I do straws, and actually I have some over here that I've done. And I straws in the summer, furs in the winter. That's pretty much my game right now.
And I saw on your website that you do both traditional men's and women's hats. So you do a
Yeah.
flora and you do some other things too. So what's your favorite shape to work with?
Well, it's funny. I do all these art shows and craft shows and everything, and the wife would come and look at the hats, and the men would kind of be dragging their feet behind, knowing that there was really nothing for them. I felt bad, so I started making, and it really, like, it was suddenly 50-50, right? And then I started doing a men's calendar. I have a bunch of friends, we call them the men of Sova, and they're my models. And then actually some of my men's hats were in British GQ. And so it just, yeah, if you make it, they will come, right? So I probably, right now, my two favorite, I do like the classic fedora, because I'm a very sort of 1920s, 30s, 40s girl. But I like the pork pies too. And I've been watching Only Murders in the Building, and Steve Martin has, the best little pork pies, on every episode. So those are fun.
I've heard about that show, but I haven't seen it yet. Everybody says it's fantastic.
It really, really is. Yeah.
How do clients find you and how do you find clients?
um, oh, that is a mystery to me still. Like every day I'll have someone come in the store and say, wow, this is really nice. How long have you been here in this location? I'm like, 8 years. I've seen you walk by with your coffee. I don't know, like sometimes people don't notice what's right in front of them. Um, but also, I have fans all over the place, and reputation. You
Mhm.
cannot make a first impression again. And so when I started making hats, it was really important to me. My husband would always say, like, you should start selling, you should sell. And I'm like, no, it's not good enough. You have to do a good product. You don't watch it 2-hour tutorial on YouTube and think that you're a hat maker. You need to work at it and, you know, really refine your skills, and then you can do it.
What does it look like to work with you?
um, uh,
Sounds like it's multifaceted. Like there's different ways. There's so many different ways you can
oh,
work together.
it is, first of all, it's a mess, complete mess. In both my studios, my store is doing okay right now. It's not so bad. A lot of tequila. Okay. We just, no, but seriously, I like to have fun, and I have like supplies everywhere, and I'd like to say that they were all organized, but you know, I'll find a ribbon on a floor that I dropped 4 months ago, and I'll pick it up and I'm like, oh, I have a good idea what to do with this now. So it's just this explosion of, you know, creativity, I guess. It's a little
So, do you do your own hat blocking?
like carving my own blocks,
Or no, just
or
using
blocking.
blocks. Just
Yeah, no, everything. No, no, no. This is all me. I wish I could say I had helpers. I do not. The only thing I do have, and I invested a long time ago in this, is a hydraulic hat press, and I brought it over from London, from Luton, and I had it made for me, and it cost so much money. But I have this beautiful, you know, antique looking thing, and that's the one I generally use to press out the men's hats because they do like it a little stiffer.
right.
Whereas the you know, you can do softer, and it's more, you know, fashion, but I do use that one. But again, it's still me, still pressing. The fire, still, you know, losing eyebrow hair, but it's all, yeah, it's all me.
So tell me about that fire thing. Like I've seen it on Instagram, but I don't understand it. What is that?
That's just gimmick. I do not do that. When I talk about fire, I'm talking about lighting my propane to start the machine to heat
Oh,
up the block.
okay.
No, I don't. That's just, in my mind, that's just kind of gimmicky, and I don't really do that. I'm sure there's a purpose for it. It might, you know, shorten the fibers, tighten them up. I don't know. I don't know.
That's okay. Who is your ideal client?
Oh, some probably a woman who's got confidence in me and herself, that she says, here's my colors, here's my idea, and go, you know. And I do have a client here. She's so amazing. I won't even tell you how many hats she buys per month, but she wears them every day, and she
Oh, that's wonderful.
outfit around them, and every hat, no matter what size I make, seems to fit her and look good on her, and she's,
Wow.
you know, yeah. So that is my ideal client, is just someone who's, you know, ready to try anything.
That's,
Absolutely.
that's fantastic. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
You can, you know, through anything, Instagram, you could send me a message, Facebook, you could send me a message, you could go to the website, you could call me, you could drop in the store, like however, you could come and knock on my door at my personal home. I don't care. I love meeting and chatting with people. Like markets are just so much fun for me. And as you know, like I could talk, and I could talk and talk and talk about hats till, you know, till the end of the day. And however people want to find me, you know, please do. But there, you know, you can get my phone number and all that off of the website too.
Okay. I'll link everything below in the show notes so people can reach out to you. And finally, do you have any advice for milliners just starting out?
Well, that's a touchy subject for me. Like I mentioned before, do your training, you know, whether it's formal or informal, and don't start selling before you've made your first hat. That seems to be the thing right now, is marketing, marketing, marketing. And honestly, my marketing is not as good as it should be because I'm actually sitting here making the hats, and I
Okay.
don't have time,
Work.
you know. And so that seems to be the norm right now, where it's all about, you know, presence on social media. I like it when people go up to my clients on the street and say, like, that's a Sova, isn't it? That's pretty cool, or where can I get a hat like that? To me, that's what's important. And so if you're just starting out, work on your skills. Work on your skills. Don't overprice your stuff. Compare it to others and price like that, as well. If you've been doing this forever and your clients are willing to pay and your work is immaculate, then absolutely, charge what you need to. But, if you're grabbing your hats off of, some website and you're not making them and you're gluing flowers on it, price it accordingly. But work on your skills, hand skills, absolutely. I can sew with my eyes shut, thank God, because my eyesight is going. I'm at that age, right, where I'm like, like this. So thank God I have, muscle memory.
I'm in the same place.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It's horrible. It happens overnight, literally.
Really does. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking about your business today and about the job of milliner. I think it's really fascinating how many different kinds of milliners there are. And I really appreciate what you do.
Thank you. And I love meeting them. Love, love, love collaborating and meeting them. So I'm excited to see who else you've talked to.
Okay, great. Well, until next time, I'm going to say goodbye.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Wow, what a fascinating interview with Sherri Lynn. She had an amazing story about her family history and the millinery that's actually in her blood. Can't believe that her long lost grandfather was a milliner, and that story was absolutely amazing. Just to recap a little bit about what Sherri said in the video and about the job of milliner. She does all the things when it comes to making her hats and getting them into the hands of her loving customers. Not only does she have an online presence, an online store, she has a brick and mortar store, and she goes to lots of craft and gift fairs. She's the sole maker in her business, even though she does employ some tools that help make it easier, like her hydraulic press for men's hats. And she also continues to go to take master classes in Europe with other milliners and other hat makers. So she is a lifelong learner, and that's something that I think is really important to know about Sherri, but also to understand that you continue to learn throughout your entire career. And it's always good to get more information and keep working on your skills. She also told us that she feels like making sure your skills are up to snuff first before you start selling hats is really important. You want to make a great first impression, and you want to have a hat that's really worth the money that the people are paying for. The other thing that I found really fascinating was, because she's in Canada, the type of hats that she makes are maybe different from the hats that Lisa made. So in our previous interview with Lisa Jones, who was primarily a bridal and special occasion milliner. Lisa worked with cineme, which is very common in Great Britain, and Sherri works mostly with felt and straw. So totally different kinds of processes and different kinds of headwear. So I found that really interesting. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe. It really helps us out. And if you're interested in our fashion program, please check out our website at thesewingroomalameda.com/fashion-studies, all lowercase. Until next time, happy fashion, everyone.